Hi there, I'm Rob from Harmony, and in this video I'm going to give 3 quick tips on how you can improve the speed of your chord changes. So when people first learn chords, they can find it quite hard to get from one chord to the next in a good amount of time. Sometimes there might be quite a bit of distance between one chord and the next whilst they're trying to get the fingers in the right place. So in this video, I just want to give a few tips on how we can speed up that process and get your chord changes and chord transitions a little bit better. So let's grab the guitar and take a look. So my first tip is to pay attention to what fingers you're using in the chords you're actually playing. Because if you're changing from one chord to another, you might not always need to move every single finger. A quick demonstration is if I play an A minor chord, and then quite often after an A minor, some people might go to a C major chord, which looks like this. And if we look at A minor and C major, 2 of the fingers that we are using to press down on both of those chords stay in exactly the same place. So if I play the A minor, my first finger and my second finger shouldn't really need to move at all to get from C major, and it's just my third finger here that I need to take off and put here. So that should make that chord change very easy because I'm only moving one finger. And I'm not actually stopping the chord in between either. I'm not doing this. There's no real gap. They actually flow nicely because when I take this finger off, the other 2 fingers, those notes are still carrying on, and that's filling the gap a little bit. See, I've taken my finger off and you can still hear the chord. Then I'll just put it down, ready to play the next one. Another little chord combination might be a G chord to a D chord. And this finger here, my third finger, didn't move either. So between a G and a D chord, I don't need to move this finger because it's in both of the chords. So if you're playing some chords where some fingers, at least 1, maybe 2, maybe more, don't need to move, then don't move them, and that will help you speed up the change going from one to the next, because I see a lot of people doing this at first where they play one chord and then they'll take everything off to play their next chord. But what they're doing in that process is actually putting some fingers back where they just were. So there was absolutely no point in moving them in the first place. So that's one thing to watch out for. A lot of people aren't aware of that. If you don't need to move something, then don't move it. And tip number 2, something I see a lot, especially in beginners, is let's just say a G chord, which looks like this. People will try and get the lowest strings on the guitar, which are actually the highest strings, but I mean the lowest physical strings on the guitar. They'll try and get these ones pressed down first, and then they'll put these ones on up here, which is a little bit backwards in my opinion, because if you think about where you're going to strum with this hand, your strumming is starting here, not here. So surely it makes more sense to get these ones pressed down first on these strings, because this is where you're first hitting the guitar and you're going in that general direction most of the time. So if you're starting down here and you've got these fingers ready, but you want to start your chord, you're not ready up here with that one. So it makes far more sense to get ready up here first. And what you might even be able to do is you might even get a few extra split seconds to get ready at the bottom. If you start in here, let's just say I start playing this G chord, I'm going to start up here, but I won't have these ready yet on the bottom, but I've got a little bit of extra time before I actually physically get there. I'm talking microseconds, but you get the point. So yeah, no matter what chord you're playing, always try and start at your first point of contact on the guitar. Try and get those ones done first. Might not always work, but it depends what you're doing. But it's just something to think about, which might help your chord changes a little bit, especially if people are always going for these notes first. I'm only using the G chord as an example, but no matter what they're doing. So there's my first 2 tips, and my last tip is to concentrate more at first, if possible, on the rhythm that you're playing. Because let's just say you've learnt some chords, but you're not that good at changing between them just yet. Not as good as you'd like to be anyway. People spend way too much time trying to get everything absolutely perfect before they play the chord, which makes sense because obviously when you play the chord you want it to sound good, you want it to sound like it should. But what happens then is that you lose all of the rhythm. Let's say I'm going to play a 4 chord progression. I'm going to play G, E minor, C and D like that. And let's just say I'm going to play each chord 4 times like this. So there's my chord progression: G, E minor, C, and D. A very common chord progression. And notice the rhythm didn't stop, and I was very consistent with the timing of it, and my chord changes were okay. But if I was spending way too much time trying to make sure that every single chord is perfect before I play it, you're going to get a bit of interruption in the rhythm. Now that's just an exaggeration, but that is kind of what people do at first, and it does make sense. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that, because obviously they're just trying to figure out the shapes themselves. But let's just say that you've been practicing them for a bit and you feel like you know the shapes all right. It's just getting into them quickly that you can't do. Well, I want to put a little bit of a spin on it and just say, no matter what rhythm you're playing, however fast, try your best to more focus on the rhythm and try and get to the next chord in time for the next strum, even if it's not perfect. So basically, just don't worry how perfect you've got something pressed down. And what that's going to teach you to do is get used to getting to the chord at the right time as opposed to getting the chord perfect. Because you can spend as much time as you want trying to press your fingers down to get a perfect chord so when you play it. But I think it's more important at first to get used to changing from one chord to the next within a certain time frame. So if I'm playing a G chord 4 times, my next chord is an E minor, I want to go straight to that E minor because this doesn't want to stop because my rhythm is this. And I've got that constantly going. So I need to make sure that at the next hit, after I've played 4 Gs, I need to be ready for the next one on the E minor chord, and then the C, and then the D, like this. So that is what I think you should put more focus on at the start, something that a lot of people might not think about. So there you go, there is 3 quick tips on how to speed up your chord changes, and I really hope they help. If you like this video and found it useful, then don't forget to click the like button. Also subscribe to our channel as well, because we post new videos every week and do singing videos, guitar videos, drum videos, and more. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.